Five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Moon Tea podcast. I am Hugh, one of your co hosts,
I'm Jon.
and we are here to talk about craft, community, and building meaningful careers. So let's begin. Hey, Jon.
Hey Hugh, you doing all right?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It was a really fun day at work
Oh
and
yeah,
kind of running around getting things in order, but now we're here, and this is the best time of the day, to be honest. I look forward to this.
awesome.
How about you?
You enjoying the transition into the new role? For those of you
Yeah.
who don't have context, Hugh started his current job as a designer, and then did some mobile development, and now he's doing product management. So, can you tell us about that transition?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Right now, I'm actually in this interesting crossroads where I'm still doing the design function and trying to hold that process and doing iteration slash design sprints there, while also trying to be in a bit more meetings that are at a strategic level with a few more stakeholders and trying to find the time between the two to one, figure out how to offboard my design function while onboard myself into a product manager function. So it's been pretty fun.
Have you guys hired a designer?
Nope. I don't even know if we've started looking yet, but we are going to have to. And it's interesting because we're in a bit of a growth phase. We just raised our Series A
Mm-hmm.
in the end of January, beginning of February. And so now we have a bit more cash on hand and still need a request that as we figure out the actual breakdown of our PM team slash product feature
Mm-hmm.
verticals that we're going to have teams and pods built around because we're going agile. And then from there, we'll then be able to figure out provisioning for design. So kind of like it's an interesting, I wonder, it'll be probably 2-3 months before I really become a true PM, but we'll see where it goes. I don't even know where I'll be in 2-3 months. Well, I'll be at the company, but I don't know where I'll be
Will you?
or what I'll be doing. Yeah, no, I actually really like it. Genuinely, I think this is the first company I've ever worked at. Even having worked at Airbnb, first company I've ever worked at that I was like, I actually want to stay here. Like, I actually really enjoy everyone I work with. Everyone's down to earth. I also really like my management team slash my manager. Yeah, it's the first company I truly like. Don't feel. I've had a lot of hard days here and there, and like, what am I doing? And trying to just grow. But all of that
Mm-hmm.
has been felt really supported, and I feel like there's been really good support network slash communication schemes. So yeah.
Cool. I'm uh I'm wondering how the workflow looks like for you. Like more specifically, when you're doing design or development, you're kind of allowed to maybe have a few meetings a week, and then the rest of the time you're like heads down fixing stuff and building stuff. The difference with products, from what I see, is that you're in a lot of meetings, you're talking to a lot of stakeholders, and doing stuff like figuring out what is important to work on, allocating work like in a way that makes things move forward, and then just like removing blockers. And so are you liking the change in work? And also, if you're still doing some design stuff, like do you get a chance to still put your head like heads down, still work on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, totally. It's super interesting actually. But in the past 2.5 weeks, I think my meeting load has tripled by like 300% in a week, which is good. I personally, I would, on a deeper level, I think I'm more of an ambivert rather than either an introvert or an extrovert. And so right now, I actually kind of enjoy. Sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays seem pretty much packed with meetings, and today was pretty bad too. But I actually really enjoy them. A lot of people don't. I think meetings are really a blessing and a curse if they're done right or if they're done wrong. And I feel like most of them have been really educational and it's been really fun. So it's kind of cool being able to have the perspective of both having worn the hats of a mobile developer slash UX UI designer for both web and mobile, where when I'm in meetings these days, it's kind of fun to be able to like, oh, I'm starting to realize where some of my strengths might lay and where some of my weaknesses are, and like I have so much to learn for finance, right? And number crunching, and how do you do analytics there for KPIs, key performance indicators, and such to analyze a business, and how do you make OKRs, setting goals for your team and such. Like for those who don't know, OKRs are objective key results. Bless you. And yeah, so I think I get kind of a full free day on Friday to really work on designs here and there. Yesterday, I had some meetings with some other product managers that were working on a product for internal tools, and I think it's interesting. Like, what is a designer? What is a product designer? What is a UX UI designer in the industry? And at scale, with big companies like at Airbnb, I saw people, fully specialized in UX researcher and UI animations designer. And so these people specialize in such a niche, but here it's kind of a lot less specialized. So you kind of do a lot of the things. So the role can really fluctuate between R&Ding, research and designing, ideating, doing a design sprint with a stakeholder, usually a PM, and then going more from the UX side of things, user experience side of things, and thinking about with the PM, the product manager, how the flow works and what are the problems we're trying to solve, what is the user possibly facing, and how do we build out a solution that's either new or integrating into what we currently have in our design system slash dev system. And then going on from those tools, there's a whole deep dive into what tools you even use for that, on wireframing and ideation and rapid prototyping and stuff like that, on to the next level of a step up in the fidelity scheme. So the fidelity meaning like clarity of the design. So you've got low wireframes, which is pencil sketches or some other tool online, and then you can up level it to high fidelity click throughs and such, and then build it out in dev world. So overall, it's a bit of a mixed pot right now, I would say, but it's good. I'm having a great time.
Cool.
Tell me
Nice.
about you though. That's me. How's your week? What have you been up to
The usual. We
at
we
work, by
have
the way?
a big potential customer that wants to use our tool, and so there's a big push to add certain features and like work on a lot of things. Uh, there's this tricky scenario where I can work on features that, from an external perspective, like look really good, and it's nice if users have it. But at the same time, I know that there's certain refactoring that needs to be done to support future development. So I'm kind of weighing the pros and cons, because if I rewrite how one of our services is is working, but in a way that makes future edits and like future features a lot easier to add on to, like that's really useful. But if I spend 2 weeks on it, then it's really hard to see, like from an external perspective, like what I've done. So I'm kind of wrestling with that. I think the balance is pretty good so far on my team, in that my immediate coworkers know what needs to be done, and they're like there's the right time and place to work on it. But when we have customers and users kind of knocking on our door asking for things, it's really hard to like if we wanted to, we could like quickly build all those features. But if we like keep focusing on building the next thing, like things break a lot and things break all the time. And um yeah, it's a interesting predicament to be in. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess in the overall picture of things, I'm like thankful to be in this position. That being said, now that I am in this position, it's just like really stressful sometimes. And I'm just like, I'm tired. So um yeah,
That's awesome. When you're trying to figure out whether or not to build out or refactor your architecture layer slash services layer versus building out a new feature set, how do you and your team do it? Do you have a product manager, pod structure? Are you self-run? How do you guys decide what comes first?
pretty self-run. We've been doing 2 week sprints, and a lot of times I'll be like, hey, I'm working on these things. Is there is there anyone who feels strongly that I should be working on something else? And uh, I try to finish in 2 weeks, but a lot of times I don't, and so a lot of that carries over. And
That
then
makes sense.
and another reason that happens is because certain things break, and so it might take an extra day or two to like fix that thing, or an API changes from one of the tools that we're using, and so we have to change our wrapper around it. And but then that's an immediate fix that's needed. Or yeah, there's a bunch of things that is kind of hard to plan for.
Yeah, that
But,
sounds really hard.
but yeah, I feel like
It's
if you're doing a release and one of the core features doesn't work, then like you better fix that bug. Like stop what you're doing and fix that bug. So
yeah, that makes sense.
um
Well, how big is your guys' team?
um we have 3 people working full time on our project, like an internal high touch trading tool. And I think the company is like 1,000 people.
Wow, that's really cool.
Um, yeah. Um, yeah. Been thinking about a lot of stuff. So when you're doing product stuff, and you're in a lot of meetings, and you're probably getting some skills and some like learning some of the finance domain. Do you think about what you're optimizing for?
What do you mean by what we're optimizing for? Are you talking? Yeah, what do you mean?
Mm, I guess
Like
you're
the
trying to
user,
do
or something more interesting than that?
well, from like a selfish perspective, so like your your
Oh,
own
for a personal
skills.
growth point of view. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like, what am I trying to optimize my learnings for to work towards whatever the future is that I'm trying to, I have no idea what it is, but what am I maximizing learnings for, career wise?
Yeah, and I think um like there are people who if you get a higher offer, or like a high offer somewhere else, it's like of course you take the high offer. But then there are people that really want to work on something that has some kind of like social impact. And then there are people that want to work on a particular technology, or like vibe with a certain team. Like have you thought about like at least the balance of that? Because
Oh,
it's like,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, like some of like how much you get paid is obviously going to play some role in that. It might not be everything, but then it'll play some role. And then whether or not you're generally happy and productive, that's probably another thing. That's something I've been thinking about.
I love it. Yeah. I think we should definitely, it's really important. And it's something I'm still trying to work through with that. The first answer to your question, would I take higher job paying thing. One, I'm paid very fairly, and I I know some people in my life that they just want more money and it's not enough. But for me, I'm paid at a really nice level, and it's not fully about money anymore. Like there just came a moment where you're like, okay, like I'm paid more than the poverty level and a bit more than that, and I live at a great home with my family, and so like happiness is also checkmarked, just at a personal level. At a professional level, I think it's also a question of, do I job hop or not, due to the age old adage of, is it better to the devil you know than the devil you don't? And it's having been in um, having I had like 4 managers Airbnb, a manager AirMLS, Apple, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've had like 6 managers so far in the past like 5 years as I've been in the tech game, and I just know how hard it is to find a really solid manager, or at least maybe my trust is kind of broken a bit. So once I found one, I'm like, okay, really cool. It would just take a really, of course, there's never a full no, but it would just take a lot to get me to move or something like that. And then I also think, as you're saying, there's the learning aspect. Where is a job that's not just paid really well that the headhunter can catch you over to, but what is it that's interesting to you that you're wanting to learn on, and is your job fulfilling that type of desire too? Team collaboration as well, and working with people that are really cool and interesting and smart and kind. And I think, yeah, my company checks a lot of those boxes. One of the big ones is, uh, I've always wanted to learn about just the financial layer of society and just how that works. And I think that's also one thing that we always nerd out about and are still learning about. And I do believe that I guess we're like a fintech neobank in a way. We're becoming more of a neobank, a new bank. And we'll be going to the blockchain someday, I'm sure. And I'm really excited about blockchain and crypto and learning about that. We were just on a call today talking with a provider, and I was like, so what are your thoughts on crypto? And they're like, oh, we get asked that very rarely, but we're starting to figure things out. We've got like an API integration to an exchange house to possibly change fiat into crypto and crypto into fiat. But yeah, we're still figuring it out. And I was like, oh, cool, me too. So yeah, those are the types of things that I do think about. Yeah, I like where I am. Don't think I'll be moving anytime soon. Because I do have, I don't know. There's also the thing where it's a ceiling of growth, where at my current job, I feel like there is quite a high ceiling left for me to keep growing at and growing into and learning from peers that are much my senior and mentors. While at other places, it was kind of like, oh, I don't think there's a very high ceiling here. And I feel like I'm a bit stuck, and management isn't helping grow me or develop me. And I can't find other potentials, opportunities to grow. And so, yeah, then I leave or left. So, yeah. What about you? What are your thoughts on that type of question?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what I've been thinking about because I like for me, I want to get paid to learn, which
Yeah, that's the best. I like, if I can get that tatted, I'm not going to, but that is the thing. Like anybody is like, get
Mhm.
paid to learn. Oh my goodness. Especially if you can control what you're learning, even better.
Yeah. Um, and I definitely have that. Like I'm super fortunate in my position and my role and the people that I work with. Like I'm getting a lot of good feedback on my code, and I'm like reading code that's a lot better than mine. And it's interesting because I I feel like I'm just inching closer, getting a little bit better every day. But then kind of like on a day-to-day perspective, I'm just like, oh, why can't I do this faster, or just like do this cleaner? But then I think in the last year I've gotten a lot better. So that's been super cool. Um, yeah, it's a tricky thing because I I meet people who are techies and in the tech world, and we discuss salary and everything. And I'm like very happy with my pay. Like if anything, I might be getting above market. Um, but that being said, I can't help but hear about some of the offers that other people are getting and think to myself, oh yeah, totally. In 2 years, I could reach X amount. And the problem with that, the problem with that is that it becomes like a game, and what you're working on and the impact that that has is like not it's not a big consideration when you are thinking about it in that way. Um, and so yeah, that's something I've been wrestling with. Um, like I don't want to think like that, but I can't help but be like, oh, like when I feel like I'm paid extremely well, like very happy with it, but I'm also saying, oh, but that other person in a similar role is
He's paid so much more.
yeah, it's like
Years, yeah.
add another 150K on top of that, and I'm like,
It's crazy.
what? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, and a part of me is thinking like, okay, like I could totally grind on leak code, and like there is a known way to like do well on these interviews. Like there is a transparent process to like study and prepare for them.
It's like the
And
SAT. Totally. It's a
oh
skill
yeah,
learned. Totally.
and it's like a part of me in however many years when I'm ready, like just wants to try out that path for the sake of being like, hey, I did it. Like, cool. Um, but I'm not sure that's healthy because it's like after a certain point, having extra having extra cash like doesn't make that much of a difference, especially in the short term. And like if you ask me at 20 years old, like, hey, if you were making X amount, like what would you try to do? Like if you asked me, I would what I would have said was probably like I would try to save for a few years and then go travel for for like work for 2 years, travel for 2 years, or something really like adventurous and out there. Or like it wouldn't be like, oh, I would try to get the next higher bump, or like I would try to reach manager, or I would try to reach like some fancy like title like principal engineer. And and I think working in the corporate world and being surrounded by other people in the corporate slash startup world has made that change to my thinking. Um, and yeah, I like don't know how I feel about it. Um, I think in the big picture of things, a kind of like good balance that works well with my conscious. So something I'm thinking of right now is, what if I did optimize for a giant salary, like assuming I'm learning in all scenarios. What if I did that and then just like donated more? And so it's like I was able to help certain nonprofits like do their work. And so there's a whole movement behind what's called what is it called? It's like earning to give, which we can all right, I'll summarize it. The idea behind earning to give is that people who want to do good for the world instead of working at a nonprofit, um, they work in very lucrative careers and then donate their money. The reason for that is if that person does not get the job at the nonprofit, there's going to be someone who's like marginally, who's like pretty similar, who's going to have that job. Whereas if you have the lucrative career and donate a bunch of your money, not a lot of people are going to do that. And so it kind of like moves the needle for the whole space. So that's something that I'm thinking about. Um, and then maybe like investing a lot into mental health stuff. So whatever that looks like. Mm. So yeah, I'm not nothing's for certain yet. Like I might be a monk in a year, like living in a mountain somewhere.
I will
But
join you. At least for 6 months. Man, I really want to. I really, really do want to figure out a way to do something similar to what you've done or many of others have done. If anyone didn't know, John, what was it in 2016? You just bought a one-way ticket to France and ended up at the story that I was told, and let's see if I remember this because I remember this from a few years back, was John bought a one-way ticket to France after quitting his job and had one backpack, no luggage, one backpack with goods, and flew there and ended up in the middle south of France at a monastery. And he stayed there for 6 months and lived a monastic life. And I really want to do something like that. It's just, yeah. How close was I?
it's pretty wrong. I
No,
had
what?
I had luggage.
What? You told me you had one backpack. I swear that is one point that I can swear. No way. How much luggage did you have?
Just a suitcase.
Did you
I
have a
think
backpack?
yeah, I had a backpack.
Oh
But
dang. Okay, man.
I may have
Everybody,
talked
I'm a
about
terrible
I may have
listener.
talked about another time I traveled with just a backpack.
Oh, maybe I've conflated the two stories.
But and then I was there for 90 days. The reason why it was 90 days was because an
You not six
American
months? What?
no, no, it was 90 days.
Well, okay. So okay, keep going.
Yeah, it
90 days.
turns out at the time, uh, Americans are only allowed to be in France for 90 days. So
Mm,
so I
gotcha.
left after.
Wow, I that's pretty funny. All right,
It's
that's
like, oh, visa requirements. All right.
yeah. Back to anyways, that's I think that's really cool. And one day I feel like it would be cool to talk about adventure stuff and where our hearts desire and what we're trying
Hmm.
to do in this world. Because something I actually think about a lot is, I have family, friends, and like my whole life is here in Arizona is where I am. I don't want to move. I don't want to leave, but I do have this desire to travel and live in other places. So it's like a really hard thing for me to one day we'll get to the root of, I'm sure. And there's such a big world out there, but home is where the heart is, I think, and family and friends
Hmm.
are the top two. And then now that I work remotely, I think that's kind of a nicer thing to come to help with whatever I choose. But it's really difficult. Like, would you, if you got paid that, I don't know, that 150, like 300, 400K, everybody, developers get paid crazy amounts after multiple years in the industry, and the higher they go up, they can get places at the big FANG companies and other companies that pay ludicrous amounts. The question is, as John's questioning, is the work-life balance there? Is the happiness there? Is your passion for the work and optimizing for yourself and learning there? Or are you really just kind of using your skills to build something for someone else that you're not fully in tune with and passionate for, but you get a very big paycheck and thus can give back to other things you believe in? So um, with that though, when you if that moment came, and you're
Which
definitely
moment?
one, the moment where you got a ludicrously large offer, say
Hmm.
300, 350K, I don't know,
Hmm.
and it was in a different state that your family, friends, loved ones, wherever, if that's where you kind of were posted up, would that change? Does location change in the function? Because right now we've got we've got salary plus equity, of course, and then happiness, working happiness, home happiness, and the functions for what does an optimized life of work mean. What else do we have? Does distance and location work for where your home base is?
Uh, yeah, I think that's kind of a trick question because if a recruiter from where's somewhere I don't want to be, let's say like St. Paul, Minnesota, reached out to me, then I probably wouldn't go through the interview process.
True.
Like
That makes
maybe
sense.
if it was a remote job, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe that
So
doesn't make sense in the tech industry because you wouldn't really uproot yourself anymore because most of it's gone remote.
yeah,
Right.
you just be
Scratch it.
wherever you want to be, and then or find a company that is where you want to be. But
Would you ever move back to San Francisco or the tech industries in like Seattle and just take the big paychecks from those FANG companies?
so
San
Bay
Jose.
Area is not on top of my list.
Yeah, me neither. Oh God, I do not want to go back there. Not to be
Yeah,
judgmental. Oh gosh, what a
and
place.
I think New York is gonna be like I think New York will be fun, but I'm not sure if that's a long term thing either. So we'll
Hmm.
see. Like
Yeah, yeah.
uh, for those of you listening, I'm probably going back to New York sometime second half of the year, and I think the biggest reason I want to be back in New York is because I want to ride a bike to work, and I want to be in an office.
I love it.
That's pretty much it. So
Yeah, the city life. And people love it. Some people don't like it, but that's cool. I respect you. I haven't visited any of my friends in New York, which is sad, even from graduating college. And I really, I would have to do it for you. It would be terrible. I didn't actually when you were in New York, but man, I have to visit you, Jackie, some other friends. I still haven't done it. I'm a terrible friend. I need to up my friend game. Like, I'm so
I
bad.
look forward to the day we record this podcast in the same room.
Oh my goodness, that would be pretty cool. I love it. Have some whiskey or whatever drinks you want.
Ooh, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think you would like it. It's pretty fun to visit.
yeah, yeah. I feel like
But
if yeah, I could see myself living in a big city again. Sure, I kind of hate on it now, just for fun. But yeah, one day maybe it could be fun. I'd like to live
yeah.
across seas more, kind of work remotely. That'd be fun. I have a friend who moved to Singapore. He got a big offer from Airbnb, Google, in Silicon Valley a few years after he graduated college because he was working there, and he also got an offer from a Singapore-based company, and he chose that one even though he got offered like 300 plus k. It was really crazy when I heard it, and um, I think he took the Singapore one, and he's happy there. He's really enjoying it. I need to get back in touch with him a bit more about it, but yeah, that's the type of thing. If I had the opportunity, my life's a bit different. I'm not able to kind of do that type of stuff right now, but one day that could be cool.
Yeah, you'll have your chance. I don't even know how I would. I guess I could apply to companies in Singapore. It just seems so exotic and out of the way.
Dude, they have such an incredible financial system there. I
Yeah.
didn't know. It's incredible. Their like GDP per capita uh,
What
is
is it,
is
Hugh?
almost, I don't know, but I think it's higher than the states or was
Oh,
for a bit.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely higher.
it's unbelievable. And they're
They,
they're what
yeah.
270 square miles landmass.
They have the most millionaires per capita,
It's incredible.
and then they have no uh capital gains tax, and then they do all these smart things. Like if I built a city from scratch, I would copy what Singapore did.
I love it.
They tax cars a bunch so that people are incentivized not to drive, and then they just
Interesting.
make public transportation really good. Like it's the best way to design a city such that most people are happy.
Hmm.
And then if you want to look at a bad example of how to design a city, then look at Los Angeles.
God.
Yeah.
Tell me more about their public transport system. Transport system.
Dude, I'm tempted to run for mayor in like 10 years
Oh, I would. I
with
think
the
you would. Oh
with
my
a
gosh.
campaign promise of I will fix traffic. Forget about
You in
everything
10
else.
years. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to meet John Kim Senior in 10 years. Wow.
Well, hopefully I don't
That'd be cool.
disappoint. Be like
Well,
homeless.
yeah. I don't think that's really in our cards. I think we're very lucky not to be going down that route. But hopefully, but maybe not. You never know. Things can happen. But that being said, what is Bitcoin?
All right, Hugh. What do you want me to ask you? What do you want to talk about Bitcoin? Have at it. Let's do it.
More like what? See, this is the thing. I really want to learn more about what is NFT, non fungible tokens. Really, even more. But I feel like it would be interesting for us to. Well, I don't even know how long we're into this one already, but I feel like we should do an intro on just the crypto ecosystem one day to just talk about it at a high level. And I think that
Mhm.
would be really, really interesting. And then we can start to progress down that track because what is Bitcoin? What is the crypto ecosystem? What is blockchain? What is Ethereum? And is it yin and yang to Bitcoin or is it a competitor? Then what are DeFi, Uniswap, Sushi Swap? What are these other things called altcoins?
Mhm.
What is NFTs? Why is there a $69 million painting that is a digital painting of pixels getting paid for? And how are they paying for that? And how much are they getting taxed on it? Slash, how much did that transaction cost? Because it was on blockchain, so it was probably way cheaper than it would have been. I think we have a lot to unpack there. What is DeFi just in general? How do money lending platforms work there? Man, I
Have you done any uh like how what have you dived deepest into recently in the crypto world?
wait, hold on. I lost my cord just broke. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Test test. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay,
You're
perfect. We're
frozen
back.
though.
The cord like
Uh,
oh no. Let me stop this video and then start it again. All
okay,
right.
cool.
The question was what?
What have you
Bitcoin,
dived
I think,
deep
right?
into recently?
Into recently.
Mhm.
I wish I were diving deeper into crypto. I haven't had as much time, but I think it would be interesting to talk about just what is the fundamentals. But again, I feel like that should be at least a 30-minute segment on just a focused topic where we get right into it rather than people already being a bit tired probably. I don't know. What about you? What's your most focused segment that you've been into for blockchain so far recently?
Nothing deep or overly informative. I just listened to some podcast interviews with people in the Bitcoin world. I think if I was not working full time and okay, these are all excuses. If I cared enough, then I would like there are some courses that I want to take that dive into like how proof of work works, how how the just like blockchain and hashes and encryption and all of that, like how it all works at a basic level. And I think I understand enough to seem competent if people are talking about it, but I think I don't understand enough to teach someone else about it. So it would be cool to dive a little bit
Yeah.
deeper into it. Um, and then there's another class that I have about the basics of Austrian economics. So that would be another class that would be really cool to dive into. Um, yeah, one thing I've been thinking about and I could probably have a whole episode about this. Is but I'm really like trying to have really focused, like really deep work, and I'm tempted to like take a year or two off and just like study every day. But then
That'd be amazing.
yeah, and I have a little bit of that because I work from home and I do development, but it would be cool to like be on my own time, and so like I don't have to like answer emails, and like I can just do whatever I want. That's something I've been toying with. I'm reading a book. Uh, it's called the what is it called? Like techno punk, something like that. But someone basically spends a year learning about computer science and AI, and like and like how certain things work, and like physics, and he just like tries to spend the whole year learning, and then he writes a book about it. And I'm really enjoying the book so far, and I'm jealous that he had this chance to just like keep learning. And I'm like, God, I kind of want to do that, and then it would be cool to blog about it and like make videos about it, again with no expectation of anyone watching or listening, just like this podcast. Although if you are listening, shout out to you. But yeah,
Thanks.
just some stuff I've been thinking about, but that would have to be in a next chapter of life. um but but yeah, Bitcoin's cool. I'm What is it at, like 58K, something like that?
Yeah, I think it hit like a 62K high last week and then it's dropped about 10-20%. A bit fluctuating. It's like 52K, maybe up a bit today, 54ish, but I haven't looked. So, excuse me.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Have you been
it's
have you been buying?
no, I haven't had very much extra income recently. I had to work on paying off a car, but you know,
Nice.
life
Hey, you paid
happens.
off a car, or you're paying it off.
Yeah, working it, just saving up some stuff. Still doing student loans too for college and such, but we're getting there. I think my financial management system is getting pretty good. Getting some savings and yeah, I wish I could. The coin I would have bought next would have been ADA, and it's gone up 26% yesterday. You know why? Because it is now going to be purchasable on Coinbase, and
Oh, cool.
they just had a thing called the Mary fork in the beginning of March, so the end of February, beginning of March 1st, and it's supposed to be kind of like the Ethereum 2.0 fork, where it's supposed to be competing against the Ethereum token chain, and ADA should be having an optimization there that with the Mary thing they've been working on for a few years should be good. So in the past 6 months, it's gone up from like 10, 20, 30 cents to a dollar, now a dollar 20, dollar 30. I only heard about it about 2 months ago when I started researching it at 80 cents. And then I didn't have money to buy any. So that's okay. Then you always get into that thing where you're like, oh, it's so high now. I don't really want to buy it. And then you see it go up 30% because of Coinbase. Like, oh, God. But I
Yeah,
don't know. It's okay.
it
I just want to
happens.
learn more. Yeah, it's fine.
Where do you think Bitcoin could go? When would you sell? Because I know, for those of you listening, Hugh and I both have some Bitcoin.
Yeah, we have a few. At least I have a few bits of Bitcoin. That's. I wish I had Bitcoin. Bitcoin. That would be nice.
Few
A few satoshis
few
all up in there.
satoshis. Anywhere between 1 and 100 million satoshis.
And how many satoshis are in a Bitcoin?
I think it's Oh, I think it's 100 million. Okay, anywhere from 1 to 1 billion satoshis.
I think just this is actually super interesting to me. Satoshis in a Bitcoin. I believe it's like 7 zeros in a BTC. Let me just look it up really
I think
quick.
it's 100 million.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. So 0.701. So 7 to the 10, a 10 to the 7. So what did you say? How many Bitcoins?
I think
100
it's a
million?
hundred
Yeah,
million
it is 100
satoshi.
million. Yeah, you're right. So 36. 3678. Really? Okay, cool. Anyways, yeah, less than 1 Bitcoin. I wish I had more.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. I have zero. I have zero. 0 point something. Who
Ooh,
knows?
don't give that away.
0
We're
point
gonna come
something.
finding you.
I know, right? So there's a thing on the hardware wallets. There's a so there's different hardware wallets too that we'd have to talk about. And there's one, and it was the oh man, I forgot the name of it. The MK3, and it's a Bitcoin only wallet, a cold storage wallet.
Mhm.
We can talk more about those in the future, people, but it has there's this really entertaining XKCD comic, and it's called the $5 wrench attack. And so like all of these people have these really intense hardware wallets that protect them, but if someone comes up with you and the comic goes, I have this massive encryption scheme and the whole world would have to come together to break my encryption to hack my money, and then the other guy's like, I have a $5 wrench. I think I can get that from you. That kind of idea. And so I think that's a very entertaining thing. So they have a distress pin and stuff. I don't have this. I just looked into it and I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. People have thought through this in their cyberpunkness. How do you have fake pins and quasi wallets and such? But
Yeah,
cool.
Ledger Nano has a like a backup wallet, so you can put in a different password, and then
Oh no way.
it'll show you like a zero balance or something like that.
Interesting. I just got a Trezor the other day because I don't know. I just went for the cheaper option, but it was just their $50 one on Amazon, and I probably should have done a bit more research. I just need to get a wallet finally. And is there so different wallets have different access to different features, of course. And one feature that I was interested in is that distress wallet. So is it on the Ledger? You've got the Ledger Nano S, right, and the Ledger X, Nano X, I mean, and
Hmm.
then there's like different levels to it. That's the higher level one, right, with the Bluetooth capability as well. Uh,
Oh, I don't know. My friends bought mine for me for my birthday like 3 or 4 years ago, and I haven't really looked since. Like the one I have works. It's pretty simple. Like it's not made to be complicated or anything.
got it. Well, my question was going to be, does that one have that backup key? And I guess it does. And my question would have been, do all of the ledgers have that feature, or is it just that high that possible tiered of the ledger?
I don't know.
Hmm. Because I
Um,
never heard of it. I would have gotten that one if I knew. That would have been cool.
because the next time someone comes at you with a wrench asking you for your hardware wallet,
Well, I mean, in like 20 years when zero point 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be worth $500,000 is going to be great.
yeah, that
Or
would be
do I have zero
wild.
point 0.1 Bitcoin? I don't know. Do I? But
Ooh.
anyways, no, I'm just gonna asking. But that's an example, though. It is interesting. What do you think the price of Bitcoin would be for 1 Bitcoin slash really Satoshis by that time? And right now it's 52,000, about 62,000 as a high. I have been asked multiple times in the past few weeks and months when it was at 10,000, when it hit the 20,000er, and then
Hmm.
the 35, and then the 55. And no one's talked to me since, really. But once it hit past 10,000, I started to say to people, I don't know in the short term whether or not you should buy more right now. I have no idea, but I can tell you a bit more about like what it is, why I think it's interesting, and I do think that in 5, 10, 15 years, I do think it will go a lot more up than an index fund in the S&P 500.
I think that's the right way of thinking about it. Yeah.
And right now, yeah.
Do you remember when it was like 6,000? I was talking to you and I was like, I think it's gonna hit 1 million in our lifetime. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I actually looked at it doing my taxes just last week, and I bought like a few little bits at 5,500, and I was like, why didn't I have more money? I was doing dollar cost averaging at the time, so like put a few hundred in here and there, but
Yeah.
it's been a good return. Like that hundred's turned into 1,000 or so, right? So like, okay, I wish I had more money. That would be cool, but I I was 1 year too late. Now I would trade in
Same.
my car
I
if I
was
had it at 5,500.
I was in between jobs when at mid March, Bitcoin dropped under 4,000,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I
Oh my
was in between
god.
jobs, and I was like, I wish I had more cash, and it happened just for like 10 minutes.
I
But
remember those days. I was talking to one of my best friends. You're one of my best friends, John, but I have another best friend too. And I was like, dude, you should buy some Bitcoin, man. Like, I know you're getting paid more as like a tech dev. Why you should buy some? But he didn't. Love you, dude. But I really wish you bought some now. I would have been like, just give me 5%.
yeah,
Sad.
I've I've actually been trying to convince. I mean, not like forcefully, but um, I don't know. You know how okay, maybe you're you know how some religious people they'll try to like evangelize and they'll try to like talk to their friends about their religion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like I I had that sentiment as I would talk to my friends and be like,
Mm.
hey, I want you to know about Bitcoin. Like I'm hoping you can just put like 1% of your assets in here and just like trust me, or like if you make a wallet, I'll like send you a little bit and like just please just like learn about it and like put some money into it.
Did you
And
actually
I've
do that?
yeah, I've done that to a few
I
friends.
wish I did that. I like regret. Honestly, I like actually regret that I wasn't more like that. Like I think the way I did it with my closest friend group was I bought them a Bitcoin book and I gave it to them on their birthdays. And then I talked to them every now and then over a coffee table. This was when I was in the 5K range and maybe up to 8K. And I was just like, it would be interesting. You should try it. Ask me any questions. And then like no one ever asked me questions. And then I just never kind of followed up on it. I was like, darn. But
Yeah,
anyways,
you did stuff by
no.
buying a Bitcoin book and
I wish I could have been like, you should try to if you have it. I don't have the cash, but if you have the cash, you should try to put 1 to 3% in, right? And just like set it a bit more gung ho. Like, why is it? What's so bad? Like, why wouldn't you? I wish I had asked that. Like, why wouldn't you right now put in even just $1,000, right? And I wish I had done that better, but that's okay. Because I just want really my goal in life is to one, be able to support my family and have a really healthy, loving relationship with a family and a someday partner. And two, I want all of my closest friends and their friends too, but whatever. But my closest friends to all be rich. Like,
yeah.
I want all of us to be happy rich, not just like like rich with no friends and you're a loner and you're depressed and sad. I want every single one of my closest friends to be rich, and I want us to go like to the Bermudas whenever we want, fly in private chains, go scuba diving whenever we want, get a yacht and just drink like anything. Oh, you want to go, but I also want to do it anonymously. Like that is one of my highest goals is would you want to be rich? I don't know if things happen, but and again, being rich is even harder. Like I don't even know if I'll even get there, but if that were to be, would you want to be rich and known or rich and not known? And personally, I would want to be rich and not known at all. So then I could just go somewhere with a backpack, pull a John Kim with a luggage now, I guess, and and just go anywhere rather than being like, I'm scared of getting kidnapped because my face is everywhere. I don't know. Not that that would really happen. Let's be real. I'm just like a peon in this world. But I wish I were a rich BTC millionaire. Those people are so anonymous. That'd be so nice.
Yeah. I mean, obviously being known for being rich is I think that's a pretty undesirable position to be in for most people. But it would be cool to be known for the work that you do. I think
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Yeah. I've thought about that a lot too. It's back to your question of like, what is the money part and what are you trying to optimize for? I do think one not being known, except in your like professional circles and your personal circles, that would be really cool. Like be an Antonopoulos of your time. But I actually would be scared to be Antonopoulos now. He's probably targeted because he must have a lot of Bitcoin.
Um,
I'm sure he could. He probably can't walk around the world and society very safely.
yeah, probably just talk to. I mean, that's he's just talking to people about Bitcoin. He's kind of like a I don't know. That guy's so cool.
Oh, he's amazing. The way in
Yeah,
which he talks, he's so eloquent. Sometimes
yeah, such a good
he,
speaker.
yeah.
You can tell he reads a lot of random stuff and
He didn't just wake up knowing all of that. Darn.
I mean,
Wow.
he talks about how he read the Bitcoin source code when it first came out
Yeah.
and cried.
No
Like,
way.
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
And I think in 2011 it would be like, man, what a nerd. And then now it's like after seeing the work that he did, you're just like, wow, respect. It's amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. That gentleman has a way with words.
Yeah.
Would you, if someone, if I don't know Bitcoin, I'm a good friend of yours, and I come up to you and I say, "Hey, John, should I buy Bitcoin now?" What would you say?
So I think if Bitcoin is $1 million, let's say Bitcoin is $1 million, and you have a time frame of a decade, I think it still could be worth buying Bitcoin depending on what you're trying to do. So
That would be how many doublings? 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 400, 400 to 800. So 4.5 doublings. So if you put 1,000 in, it would be what? It would be
uh
4.5 doublings. Yeah.
well,
Cool.
I'm just saying it, like that kind of question depends on the individual. And so I think the kind of person that asks for financial advice, I would tell them to do their own research, because like my financial situation is not going to apply to that person.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess what is it that someone who's just asking, should I add money to Bitcoin? And blindly adding money to Bitcoin is probably a bad idea. If just you should educate yourself. But if someone were to educate themselves, do you think that a solid question for them to be would, how could Bitcoin get to $1 million? And then they can backtrack from there and see if it's even provable that they can like find things and prove it. Because that's what I would probably do.
um
Like
yeah, and
how, yeah.
people look at it differently, but there and people have models about it, and they've tried to predict the price. There's one called stock to flow that was made by this guy, anonymous blogger named Plan B, who made a model, and it's been like weirdly accurate so far.
Hmm.
Yeah, the weird thing is in 2025, I think, according to his model, Bitcoin's going to be like 2.5 million,
Hmm.
which is insane. So I hope he's wrong, because that would be so ridiculous if it was
So
2.5 million in like 5 years. Like that would be insane.
have you ever researched what the M1, M2, M3 amounts are
Mm-hmm.
for the money supply of the USD and such? So, what do you know the number? I actually can't remember off the top of my head. What this is what I would suggest people learn and know is like, what is that number for? Like, how much would the market cap of Bitcoin be if it were worth $1 million or $2.5 million? How much money would be in it? And then how much money is currently in the M1?
21 21 billion,
I don't think that's
or
right.
like 19 billion, depends on which year it is. You just multiply it by 21
The
million.
market cap is not 21 billion. There's no
Yeah,
way.
if it was a million or 21 trillion.
Yeah, big difference. That's like, hold
Dude,
on.
times a
What?
thousand, 10 orders of mag or 4 orders of magnitude, whatever.
What a pocket change, man. Billion, trillion, whatever. That's funny. Yeah, so it would be 21 trillion. What is the
Or like
market
the
cap?
upper limit. So it could be like 19 trillion. Yeah.
Cool, cool. And so what is the market cap of like the total circulating money supply of USD fiat right now? That would be M1, right? I
Um,
don't know. I'm wondering.
I don't
I
know.
forgot.
I think that's one of those questions. That's good to Google
Yeah.
and
So
not,
then
yeah.
if someone Googled that, then the question would be once you know that number and then you know the quote unquote 1 million price peg that you're aiming for, or say put in the input value of 500,000 or 100,000, even if you're looking at it, see what the market cap is, compare it, and then think about how can we get this to that? Because right now, and is that worth it? Like the USD is the price pegged fiat of the world, right? It's the global reserve currency. If Bitcoin were to truly become a $21 trillion market cap, I would suspect that it has a higher liquidity pool than um, the USD fiat, which means that the only way Bitcoin could have become that value is that if USD became not the reserve currency, but we became a Bitcoin currency world. And then the question is that really feasible? And how is that feasible? And why is that feasible? I'm still trying to figure that one out. Of yeah, like arguably it's cool and stuff and seems interesting, but there's also a lot of different edge case concerns. And I know the Gemini founders, the what were their names? The twins,
The
The
Winklevi.
Winklevoss twins, the Winklevi, have an interesting thing, and they're very gung ho about it. And I, yeah, I just wonder. The thing I wonder is like the infinite divisibility of Bitcoin, of just how divisible is it. 100 million satoshis per Bitcoin is pretty divisible, but yeah, I wonder if it would really happen in 10 years, because that's what the gentleman in 2025 is saying, by 4 years. I don't know. That sounds
Um,
crazy. How can
yeah,
it get to 2.5 mil? I'm curious. I'm
I
super
think
interested. Let's research this.
I think it'll happen. I don't know if it's in our lifetime,
Yeah. I
but
don't know if it's in a lifetime.
yeah, okay, I'm not gonna say a statistic that's probably wrong, but like we've had different reserve currencies and they
Mhm.
change once in a while. And and Bitcoin is the ultimate hard money and it's the ultimate like capital right. And it's like the like yeah. I
Yeah.
I won't go too much into it because we're I think we're past an hour, but I do think Bitcoin will be the world's reserve currency. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime, but
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
I think it'll happen. Like
Yeah.
if one side if one thing is printing a bunch and taking advantage of the fact that it has this status and the other one has a fully transparent system and a fully transparent way of verifying uh, how much total value there is and what it's going to be in at x point in time and it's like not controlled by any government uh, and there's no incentive for like and a government has like very different incentives than this this like magical internet money thing. And
Yeah.
so it's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like bound to happen. But I don't know if it'll be in 5 years or in 50 years or 100 years, but I think it'll eventually happen. So
I think
yeah,
it's so interesting. So, for a bit of back history, very light. We used to have the silver reserve currency, and then it became the gold standard, And then in like, what was it, 1960, something like that, we switched over to the fiat. No, what is it?
1971.
1971. Perfect. There we go. That's why he's here. Hey, and
President
then
Nixon got off the gold standard.
love it. And so then we became fiat based, and that's a question I got from a friend who's like, why? What's so bad about fiat and such, and where does the value of Bitcoin come? And then I was like, where does the value of fiat come from? And that
Yeah.
was an interesting conversation to like just retort for. And so that rabbit hole goes deep. But with that question, I think it goes. The next thing though is this is something I like to push back a bit on, and in the sense you've got really great speakers like Antonopoulos and even yourself of saying Bitcoin would become the fiat reserve. The thing I don't really hear often is Bitcoin really going to become the reserve? Yes, I get it. It's deflationary. Yes, I get it. It's immutable ledger, other than a 51% base stack. And it's the best thing we have so far, or had so far. But now we have a lot of other altcoins that are coming out. And I'm going to just use a very meme type coin, not saying that this is something I support, but right. There are different currencies out there just for people to know that could also become reserve currencies and not just Bitcoin. And so you have to also compare now, is this kind of the MySpace of the space, or is this the Facebook of the space? Or is it not like that ecosystem at all? And Antonopoulos argues that it's not the MySpace of the space in a way, because they're doing really good innovation and having like the lightning layer and stuff like that. And but the question is, there are other coins that have different governance structures and token issuance structures that I'm curious about whether or not having a bit of inflation is good, even though because Bitcoin has no inflation. And I'm like 21 million price peg or coin token, and then a deflationary scale over 120 years. The last Bitcoin is arguably mined in 2140. Supposedly, people are saying it would be mined in 2078 because it's on a 3-year, 9-month halving rather than a 4-year halving cycle, something like that. But I don't know. I need to look into that. That being said, what about other coins? Like I don't know. I just haven't heard too much conversation about that. Of what are the other coins that could possibly be a bit more long-term stable, that are less deflationary, sure, with a bit of inflation built in, but are pegged. Because that's also the thing, is the government is able to print $1.9 trillion out of nowhere, right? And stuff like that. So where does yeah, I don't know. Some things have like 3%, 5%, 1% total token inflation every year, and I think those are interesting structures. Or can we make it dynamic, and how? And then it turns into the U.S. government or any government really. So it's like, how does that not become a central bank? Who controls it?
Tune in next time for us to find out.
I love it.
Okay. I need to go on a run, so I'll close real quick.
Cool, man.
Hey, everyone! For those of you still listening, thanks for listening to the end, and for seeing the cool outro and listen to the cool music. And Hugh and I will see you next week for another episode of the Moon Tea Podcast. Peace.